Some people are coming. Patricia. Hello, Randy. I did not see you creeping in. Still excited about Wednesday? Patricia, good to see you, dear you. Good. Thank you for joining us once again. Say hello to Dawn. Beautiful. Are you using Linda's computer, Randy? Okay, gotcha.
Yes.
Yeah, we're gonna wait a tiny bit. Some people are late this evening, so we'll see how it goes. Rodney's coming. Mr. Rod, good to see you. Must be somewhere. How are you, brother? All good?
Thanks.
All good, bro?
Yes, sir.
How's the ministry going, dear you?
Pretty busy.
Good. Good stuff. I'm gonna give a few more minutes. While we prepare, make sure that you are in Genesis chapter 15. It's behind me. Capital G, the sealing of the Abrahamic covenant. Last week we did number 1, the covenant promises or promise to Abram. I'm going to give you 2 observations in a moment. Fasten your seatbelt for tonight, not in terms of speed, but in terms of content. And we'll see how it goes. I might, you're probably not in the rush anyway. I might borrow 10 minutes, depending on how it goes tonight. We'll find out. Or else we'll wait 2 weeks. Keep in mind that next week I take a week of preparation. That's how I call them. There will be no class, no regular class on Tuesday, no class on Monday, no class on Tuesday. On Wednesday night, at 4 p.m. for the Eastern time, for the West Coast, and 7 p.m. for the East Coast on Wednesday night, we will do a Q&A. So if you would like to accumulate a few questions, in all humility, I will basically open the program and do the, I'm going to use the Samuel link. My wife will send you the link for this, and we'll go from there. For Q&A. On any topic, not on a specific book, any topic that I can provide insight. If I don't know, I don't know. So it looks like it is it. I'm going to keep my eyes on the content here to invite the people in. So this is it. Tonight we're going to do the covenant ritual. It's an abbreviation here, sealing of the Abrahamic covenant. I don't know if I'm going to reach it. We'll find out. And from chapter 15, verses 7 to 21. But before I embark, we're going to pray, and I'm going to do 2 observations concerning what we did last week, which was the covenantal promise to Abraham and so on. This is one of the fascinating study that I like to do, because covenant signing is beautiful, how it happened here with Abraham. So I sure hope that I will be able to cover it in full in the next maybe 60 or 70 minutes. Let's take a silent time and then we go from there. Dear Father God Almighty, I thank you tonight for the people that are still interested to carry on in a deeper way. I recognize that these studies are not easy, they are long, these books are long. But when we reflect upon it, dear Lord, this is it. This is studying the Bible. This is what we do. Lots of ministries of different kinds, they basically go thematically, and it's hard to expound on a book like this almost verse by verse, making comments and so on. So that's why it is long, and I praise the people in front of me for their value to these things, the way that they take it and the way that they are interested in it. And for that reason, dear Lord, I'm asking you to bless them. Bless them. Continue to pour showers of blessing upon them with beautiful spiritual nuggets that they can apply, that they can share with people. It's important to share this with people. The enthusiasm that it creates in us when we discover things about your truth that you have given us. So we give you thanks right now. Undertake the meeting, get the glory, and thank you for all things in Jesus' name. Amen. All right, if you place your eyes on verses basically 1 to 6 of last week, I'm not going to read it again. It finishes, then he believed in Jehovah in verse 6, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. Two quick observations here that I would like to make. The promises themselves of the Abrahamic covenant, the reconfirmation of it and the sealing of it, if you want to, were unconditional. Okay, this is very important to understand. The Abrahamic covenant is unconditional, okay, and still is today. This covenant is enforced today. The blessings and the land to come and the blessings for the Gentiles and so on in the person of the Messiah. This is my first observation right now. My second observation is to remember the seed aspect of the Abrahamic covenant. From verses 1 to 6 in chapter 15, it was about the seed, that it will not be Eliezer of Damascus, basically that will be the heir. It was about the seed of Abraham, a seed that will come from his own loins. That's basically the seed aspect in verses 1 to 6 here. In verses 7 to 21 that we're just about ready to embark tonight, we will see, just a second, I need to re-admit somebody right now. We will see that it's going to be the land aspect, L-A-N-D, the land aspect of the Abrahamic covenant. That's what will come out tonight. This is my second observation, if you want here. It's going to be the land aspect of the covenant with Abraham. Within the point number 2, just want you to give you a few New Testament quotations concerning salvation. The first one is Romans chapter 4, verse 3. Verse 9 of chapter 4 and verse 22. I repeat, Romans chapter 4 verses 3, 9 and 22. Okay, it's concerning being saved by grace through faith alone. These are passages because of verse 6, it was reckoned to him as righteousness. Number 2 is Galatians chapter 3 verse 6. Galatians chapter 3 verse 6. Saved through faith and not by the law. Galatians chapter 3 verse 6, salvation is by grace through faith alone, not by means of keeping the law or any law. And you have number 3 and last, the book of James chapter 2, verses 21 to 23. We are justified by faith, and his work, Abraham's work, in his willingness to offer Isaac, yet to be seen, was the evidence. It was the evidence of that justification by faith. He was not saved because he was willing to offer Isaac. Okay, so he was willing to do so, was the evidence of an inner faith. And this is the same thing for us, since we serve. Good to see you, Vicky. It was long to receive you. So this is the way it is, okay? We don't work in order to gain salvation. We work and we demonstrate outward actions in Christianity because we have been already saved. This is a nice aspect to keep in mind here. Keep in mind that when you're sick, for those who teach Bible study, I know that half people on the screen that do it, you will have sore throat. You take your break. You take your break. You take the break and you will not lose anything. Anything. You will gain rest. Okay? When we're not capable to do or sick to do, we're not losing anything. Serve because we have already been blessed. Having said this, you place your finger. I'm going to slow down the pace here, see how it goes. If I don't reach the final sketch of it, of the sealing and the sealing of the Abrahamic covenant, we'll do it in 2 weeks' time. It doesn't matter, but I will try and see how it goes from there, because I don't want to crash course with you anything at this point. Place your finger, the covenantal ritual. Lots of information to give you here because it's delicious. Chapter 15, verses 7 to 21. 7 to 21. Why don't we do 7 to 11 to begin with? I read without comments. And he said to him, Jehovah said to him, Avram, I'm not supposed to do comments. I am Jehovah who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to possess it. He said, Oh, Adonai Jehovah, how may I know that I will possess it? That it is the land. So he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. Then he brought all these things to him, capital H, and cut them in two, and laid each half opposite to the other. But he did not cut the birds. The birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Avram drove them away. Let's make comments from there. Now, by means of ritual, it's a ritual, the Abrahamic covenant will be officially signed and sealed. Because it's an unconditional covenant, it will be signed at that place later in the paragraph and sealed. In verse 7a, the first part of verse 7, I am Jehovah. Circle, I am Jehovah. When you circle Jehovah, capital L-O-R-D, this is what I have in my Bible, but I always say the word here. It emphasizes God as the covenant-keeping God. In the United States, you have the ministry, the covenant keeper, and the covenant keeper is God, and they borrowed this from the name Jehovah. It's the verb to be. I am He. I am, period. Yahweh. Back in verse 1, it was I am a shield to you. Back in verse 1 in the same chapter, it was I am a shield to you. The emphasis was on protection. Magan David or Magan Avram that we have learned together. Now here the emphasis is on the covenant-keeping God. Son or no son at this point, he is Jehovah. So the promise already made will indeed be kept. Notice what I just said, because I said a few seconds ago that the 7 to 21 emphasizes the land aspect. The Jews owned the land of Israel, and one day they will own the land because it's been granted to them by divine grant. They don't own it all right now, and they have a hard time to hold it with the bombing and so on. So one day they will own the land, regenerated people. At the end of the Great Tribulation, they will own the land. Why? Because the Abrahamic covenant is an unconditional covenant. He promised the land to Abraham. He will get it. When? It's not our business. The only thing that we ought to know is they will own the land because it's a divine grant. So you see now the unconditionality of the Abrahamic covenant. This Abrahamic covenant, seen in chapters 12 and 13, because we had some reconfirmation, comprising promises near and very far. Near he will have a son. Near you will be a blessing to others. It was near in the life of Abraham, but owning the land, it's a few months later. Talking about 4,000 years here. Hasn't been realized. And he dies. So God is forced to resurrect Abraham to give him physically the land of Israel, that he may walk it. Okay? It's very important to understand these things. Verse 7b, when we read 7b here, Jehovah who brought you out of the Ur of the Chaldeans, circle Ur of the Chaldeans, to give you this land, circle this, to possess it. To possess it, it's not even negotiable at that point. Then God reminded Abraham that it was he who originally initiated the call to Abraham. Why I treat that as importance right now, I explain to you. Because the statement in 7b serves as a prelude. I am the one that called you from the Ur of the Chaldean, and it serves as prelude for this, for the sealing of the covenant. Is it the only example that we have in the scriptures? Absolutely not. When you go to Exodus chapter 20 verse 2, you have the same expression there. I am the one that called you. I'm going to go for you. Exodus chapter 20 verse 2 quickly. Exodus chapter 20 verse 2 reads as follow here. I am Jehovah your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. So they were called out of Egypt, and it was a prelude to the giving of the law, the Mosaic law. So it's nothing new. Here in that's the first time, and then another time of Abraham here, in the time of Abraham, which was before the Exodus. So I am the one that called you, so he's not going to fail this. He does the calling, he delivered them from the land of Egypt, then here they will possess the land. So it's just a prelude concerning something. In verse 8, I read it in Hebrew, O Adonai Jehovah, capital L, lowercase O-R-D, it's the word Adonai. And when you have God all capitalized, capital G-O-D, this is Jehovah, the same as capitalized L-O-R-D. And he asks right now in verse 8, he said, O Adonai Jehovah, how may I know that I will possess it? Circle the word it. What is it? The land. And in verses 9 to 11, you have the division of the animals. Make your notes because we get close to the sealing of the covenant, dear beloved. In verses 9 to 11, I read it. 5 things to note. They are all in your Bible. You check them out later. Verse 9. Verse 9, it says, bring me a 3-year-old heifer. 5 things. Number 1, a 3-year-old heifer. Number 2, 3-year-old female goat. Verse 9c, the latter part. Number 3, a ram, 3-year-old. Verse 9d. Number 4, a turtle dove. Verse 9f. D-E, yeah, E. Doesn't matter, the latter part. And number 5, a young pigeon at the very end of verse 9. So you have your 5 things. 3-year-old heifer, 3-year-old female goat, 3-year-old ram, no age for the turtle dove, and a young pigeon here. Okay? Of course, blood is needed to sign and seal the covenant, because here it's a blood covenant. Make a note, it's a blood covenant. And the covenant of blood here, this is all in keeping with the ancient ways. It's all in keeping with the ancient ways to make covenant at that time. At the time of the patriarchate, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the ancient time. It's a blood covenant here. Okay, verse 10. Come with me. Then he, Avram, brought all these things to him, capital H, cut them in 2. Look at me. The cut them in 2 here, it's not like this. Take a chainsaw here. It's not like this. It's like this on the length. To have a half of the animal on one side and the other half on the other side. Not the leg and the chest here. It's cutting in both ways on the length of the person. Not the person, sorry. On the length of the animal. I'll show you a picture later of that, a painting. Okay, he obeys. I'm going to show you the painting right now, and I will come back to it later. Take a deep breath. I'll be there in a moment. Share. And I will point to you a few things about the sharing. This. Vicky, you let me know. Undo yourself. I see Mark. Mark, it's okay. Mark, do you see the pathway of blood? You don't see the pathway of blood? You do. Yeah, it takes a little time, okay? This is the pathway of God here, right here. Just a moment. 86, maybe 100. Okay, look at this. That's the pathway of God with the passage. This is the best that I have found among many. Here you have on the left-hand side, I can take a pen from somewhere, right here. Okay, you have a row of animal cut in two in the way that I have shown you. You have this, which I will explain later, which will walk between the rows of pieces. You can see the quantity of blood. And Abraham here, I will explain what kind of sleep is in going through right now. Just to let you know that Abraham will never walk between the two pieces of animal. Okay, so this is one of the best. So basically, I will stop sharing and come back later with this. Take a picture with your phone if you want to take a shot of the screen here. He did not cut the birds in verse 10b because it's too messy. If you take a pigeon and you take a knife, it becomes all bloody, it falls apart, it's good for the animal. Most likely it's because it's too messy to do so. You would not recognize that this is a bird in some ways. And make a note again that it was an ancient way to make a covenant of blood. Usually when we see a covenant like this outside the scriptures or within the scriptures here, only one animal is slaughtered. One is enough, okay? Here you have 5 that are used. What does it show? What's the point of 5 animals? It emphasizes the solemnity of what we are studying right now. It's very official, it's very solemn. This is the signing and the sealing of the Abrahamic covenant, and you are partakers of it. You do not own the covenant, but you became partakers of it simply because you exercise your faith in Jesus Christ the Lord. Because he said to Abraham, through you, Abraham, all the families of the earth will be blessed. This is directly you and I, and all the people of 2,000 years ago. So you do not own the covenant, the church don't own the covenant, but we become Romans, the word partaker in them, not only in the Abrahamic covenant. Verse 11, come with me. The birds of prey came down upon the carcasses. Of course, there is blood and intestine, and you can imagine the scene. It's a bit gross here. The birds of prey came down upon the carcasses, and Abraham drove them away. Okay? Birds like this, in 2 places in the scriptures, they imply bad omen. O-M-E-N. In reference to the foes of Israel, here it could refer to the Egyptian bondage that we will see in a moment. And the Egyptian bondage that we will see in a moment, it's one of the negative part of the Abrahamic covenant. So it's bad omen. So that's why basically Abraham drove them away. They are not good. And we have an example of this in Mark chapter 13. That the Christendom will become like a huge tree starting in a small bush. The church will become a monstrosity big, and the birds of the air swing in the branches thereof. It's not good. The birds of the air that swings in the branches thereof represents the cultic issue of Christendom today. So that's why I said to you, we have 2 examples of it. Matthew chapter 13, it's part of the 9 parables depicting the church age. Okay, so simply put in your notes that these are agents of Satan. Right there in Abraham, the birds that he drove away, these are not good birds. Vicky.
Did you say that was Mark 13 or Matthew 13?
Matthew 13. This is the 9 parable of the life of the Messiah from a Jewish perspective. I cannot give you more details because it's going to deter me too much from Abraham. If you happen to do the life of Christ, you will learn these 9 parables depicting the church age. Okay? At this point, let me say a few things about what a blood covenant is in comparison with other types of covenant that we have in the text. Turn with me for a second here in Jeremiah and think about what you have seen. Go into Jeremiah. Go to Jeremiah chapter 34. Just want to show you, explain to you, to This is not taken from a vacuum cleaner here. This is biblical stuff. You will see that in a moment. Jeremiah 34 verses 8 to 11. I just want a few words there, 8 to 11. The word which came to Jeremiah from Jehovah after King Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people who were in Jerusalem to proclaim to release them. I stop. I just wanted the making of a covenant here, okay? Come down to 17 to 20, same chapter. 17 to 20. Come with me. Therefore, says Jehovah, you have not obeyed me in proclaiming release, each man to his brother and each man to his neighbor. Behold, I am proclaiming a release to you, declares Jehovah, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine, and I will make you a terror to all the kingdoms of the earth. I will give the men who have transgressed my covenant, that's the covenant that he asked them to do, to release the people, who have not fulfilled the words of the covenant which they have made before me, when they cut the calf in two and pass between the parts. This is exactly what we have in the Abrahamic covenant right now. Return to your Genesis 15. You see, you have an example of a minor covenant made with the people. Only one animal was killed, but both parties walk into the rows, which is not the case with this here. All right. Once the parties walk between the pieces that we have seen in the picture without Abraham sleeping on them, two parties should go basically side by side. They make the covenant here. And that's once you do it, then you come at the other end of the row of the animals, the covenant is signed. The covenant is done and it cannot change. And the responsibility of the covenant to bring it to pass or to keep it rests on two sets of shoulders. The two parties that make the covenant together, they walk between the rows of animal or one animal in that case, and the responsibility is on both men to keep the part of the covenant here. This was the nature of a blood covenant that I just explained to you in the time of Genesis, not in the time of the law of Moses. Finish your notes. All right. There was other covenants also, types that I named to you. 3 of them with scriptures, but I'm not going to turn in the scriptures with you. Other covenants type, not of blood. These the three types that I give you that are scriptural. They are not blood covenant. Number 1, we call it a hand covenant. It's either way, you shake the hands, or like this, or like we do in North America here, or you strike the pelvis. This is the pelvis. You strike the pelvis like this with the other party. That's how you sign the covenant. It's called a hand covenant. Ezra chapter 10 verse 19. Ezra chapter 10 verse 19. Ezekiel chapter 17 verse 18. Ezekiel chapter 17 verse 18. If you do research in depth of Ezra, that was a handshake covenant. Yes, Vicky.
Is the hip struck with another hip or a hip with the hand?
Another hip.
That's a hip check.
With the
Yes.
party. Yeah. Yeah.
Hip to hip.
Striking
Okay.
the pelvis. Yeah.
Okay.
Number 2, the salt covenant. Salt covenant. Usually the people, they carry a pouch of salt on themselves for sacrifice, for seasoning purposes and so on. You put your thumbs into your bag of salt, and then you dump the salt that you have on your thumb on the bag of the person with whom you make a covenant. And now try to get your salt back. Impossible. Salt in salt. You cannot get the salt back. So your salt is united. And it creates basically a salt covenant. Leviticus chapter 2 verse 13. Leviticus chapter 2 verse 13. And the book of Numbers 18:19. The book of Numbers 18:19. This is scriptures concerning the salt covenant. The last one, number 3, which are not covenant of blood. It's a shoe covenant, shoe, like a pair of shoe. In that case, two parties, usually the male with another male, exchange sandals. And the covenant was in force until they exchanged sandals again. Ruth, the book of Ruth, chapter 4, verses 7 to 12. I would like you to read this one because you will see the sandal principle there. It's called the shoe covenant. But of course, at that time, they were wearing sandals. So you exchange sandals, it becomes a shoe covenant. There is no blood shed, no animal killed for that. After having elaborated on that, just make a note that a blood covenant is the far most solemn covenant type. And all the 8 covenants of the scriptures, they were all basically signed by blood. Now we go to verse 12 to 21. Come with me, 12 to 21. Okay? I'm going to stop in 16. You come. We read without comments. Please read with me. Now when the sun was going down, a deep sleep fell upon Avram, and behold, terror and great darkness fell upon him. God said to Avram, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, where they will be enslaved and oppressed 400 years. But I will also judge the nation whom they will serve, and afterward they will come out with many possessions. As for you, you shall go to your fathers in peace. It's Abraham. You will be buried at a good old age. Then in the 4th generation they will return here, because the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet complete. Take a deep breath. I think we do good. We carry on with this. Now we come to the actual act of signing and sealing the covenant. The circumstances are in verse 12a. Now when the sun was going down and a deep sleep fell upon Avram. Let me deal with this. When the sun was coming down, now it's early evening. Now we are early evening, and this shows that a whole day transpired since verse 5 of the chapter. Verse 5, and he took him outside and said, now look towards the heaven and count the stars here. So basically, it's early evening right now. And this shows that a whole day transpired since verse 5. Because the entire vision moves from night to day until night, covering a great number of hours. Can you imagine this? Okay? From night to day until night, covering a great number of hours with God, having conversation and command to do so and so. In verse 12b, a deep sleep fell upon Avram. Simply put, carefully, it was a visionary sleep. It was a visionary sleep. Avram is fully conscious in a way, okay, of what was going on, but he can do nothing. He cannot stand up, he cannot argue, he cannot ask questions. This is very difficult to define. I'm going to give you a very good definition. It's not anesthesia. It's kind of a, I don't know, I will explain it later. It's a visionary sleep. It is a deep sleep. It's called Tardema Adonai. A sleep from the Lord. This is the same type of sleep that he put Adam to sleep to do a surgery on Adam on the side. He never woke up. A sleep from the Lord like this, you don't wake up of it. When he puts somebody to sleep in this way, you're done. Example, Adam, Genesis 2:21. Saul in 1 Samuel 26:12. Saul in 1 Samuel 26:12 was sleeping and David was around him, never felt anything. Daniel 8:18. Daniel 8:18, and chapter 10, verse 9. Tardemach Adonai, asleep from the Lord. Verse 12, the latter part. And behold, terror, circle terror, fear. Dilich, it's a commentary that I have on my left. I cannot show you that. It's about 12 books, brown books, very dry reading. He comments on that, and he gives that definition. I just want to read. Don't note what I say right now. It's too long, and I'm not going to give you time. He defined the Tardemach Adonai. I kind of like it, except for one word. Quote, a valiant plunging of the natural life of perception and thought into unconsciousness and inactivity, cessation and casting into slumber of the ordinary activity, action of the mind and sense for the purpose of unsealing the inner eye. Ouch. I like for the purpose of unsealing. Look at what you see in slumber right now. The only word that I don't like, it's unconsciousness, because Abraham was somewhat aware of what was going on. So it's very hard to define, but I think that Dilich did a great work on this. Just wanted to show that to you. Dilich is a commentary, looks like this, on the 5 books of Moses, and it's 12 books like this, and there is no picture or whatsoever. This is when you want to sleep, you read that kind of commentary.
Yeah, one more time.
You want it one more shot? Okay. Dilich comment on it, quote, a valiant plunging of the natural life of perception and thought into unconsciousness and inactivity. I like inactivity, cannot stand up. Cessation and a casting into slumber of the ordinary activity, action of the mind and sense for the purpose of unsealing the inner eye. This is I'm François Blouin, I'm not François Dilich. I like it a lot. Okay, it's beautiful. Verse 13, you come with me. God said to Abram, know for certain that your descendants will be strangers in a land that is not theirs, while they will be enslaved, oppressed 400 years. Okay, I just read it. The land initially was Canaan, but ultimately it's Egypt. They will be enslaved to Egypt. They will end up being enslaved. That's the negative aspect, like I told you, of the Abrahamic covenant. All right? The word afflict is oppressed. This is the same type of word found in Exodus chapter 1, verses 11 and 12, that they will be afflicted and oppressed at that place. Basically, when I say to you Exodus chapter 1 verses 11 and 12 here, that's the fulfillment of that passage of Genesis. It was fulfilled in Exodus chapter 1 verses 11 and 12, the enslavement. In the latter part, you circle, please, 400 years. Circle that. The 400 years here, it's the same as in the book of Acts, chapter 7 verse 6. It's the same of the book of Acts in chapter 7 verse 6, and the year would be from 1876 to 1476 BC. 1876 straight down to 1476 BC. That would be the 400 year here. From 1876 to 1476 BC. In the book of Exodus, chapter 12, verses 40 to 41, Exodus chapter 12, verses 40 to 41, you have a different figure. It says 430 years in this passage. That can be explained that it would mean that the enslavement began. The enslaving began 30 years after the stay in Egypt began. So they were 30 years not enslaved, and then, because they were populating, After 30 years, they were enslaved for 400 years. That's how we would basically, it's one way to explain the discrepancy. 30 years after the stay in Egypt began, they began to be oppressed and enslaved. That makes sense to me. I kind of like that first explanation here.
Francois,
Yes.
would that be the time frame between when Joseph died, 30 years, and then the new Pharaoh came in, and
Yep.
they said, hey, we got to take care of these people?
Absolutely. It's an absolute. What you explain is accurate. Yes. Thank you. Verse 14, you come with me. But I will also judge the nation whom they will serve. We know together that this is Egypt because we have the scriptures. And afterward, they will come out with many possession. Okay? The nation here is Egypt. And they will serve Egypt and the Egyptian as slave under a new Pharaoh. I cannot give you the explanation. If one day we do Exodus, you will know the two types of Pharaoh and the history behind it. I traveled Egypt actually prior to teaching the book of Exodus, maybe 8 to 10 years ago in Duncan, British Columbia, in a church called New Life. I went to Egypt to survey the land a bit prior to do the teaching for this, and I was blessed, but it's filthy in Egypt. The garbage everywhere, all the veins of the Nile are just unbelievable. Egypt, it's a one time. You don't go back there. Verse 14, here again we see the outworking of the cursing aspect of the Abrahamic covenant in verse 14. Okay? They will come out with many possession. You have enslaved my people, curse for curse in kind. You have made them slave, they will plunder you. You will get their wealth, and so on. This is the cursing aspect. I will bless those that bless thee, and I will curse the one that curse you. This is the blessing aspect. And be careful. Let me make that comment right now. Our churches today, we keep the Jews too much in limbo all the time. We need to go back to pray for the peace of Israel, Psalm 122 verse 6, and we need to have some kind of a portfolio, a piece of the pie, helping the Jewish evangelism with any ministry. You don't have to give solely to the Jews, but keep in mind the way a local church treats the Jews. God will deal with us later if we become anti-Semitic. It is very important what I say, and if I would say that in a local church, I will be kicked out on the spot. But my mandate to you is to teach the truth, because the Abrahamic covenant is an eternal covenant, unconditional covenant. If you want, you don't need to bless the Jews, but never make statements that are anti-Semitic. Just be careful. Because yes, they killed Jesus, the Jews, but the Roman did the killing, and Christ on the cross dismissed his spirit himself. So the Gentiles were a means to throw a spear, and the Jewish leaders rejected his messiahship, but you cannot hold the whole nation accountable after the unforgivable sin was committed. So to make a long story short, be careful, and when you face a festival like Passover, right now this week the emphasis will be on Easter. But Easter is the Passover of the Jews. Can you at least mention a word about it? You will make mention about the blood of the lintel and the doorpost. At least explain Exodus chapter 12 and mention that the Passover took birth with the Jews. We're so caught up in traditions that we forget the roots. The Messiah is a Jew in his humanity. A descendant of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob makes him a Jewish person. Jewish, it's not a religion, it's a nationality. So keep in mind to pray for the peace of Israel. I'm not asking you to back up Benjamin Netanyahu. These guys are standing still in unbelief. They still wait for the Messiah. But there is a remnant of Israel everywhere. Tennessee, New York, you guys are packed with Jews. Oswego has a long story concerning them and so on. They were the first place, Oswego, New York, Randy O'Donnell on the screen right now, where they welcomed the Jews after the Holocaust in the Second World War II and so on. This is a blessing that we need to keep in mind. Not François says, Don't say François said this. It's the scriptures. Remain neutral. Don't become anti-Semitic. The cost is too big to pay. Sorry, it was parenthetical. You come with me. The promise to Abraham in verse 15. As for you, this is God. The you is Abraham, Avram. You shall go to your fathers in peace. Circle that. You shall go to your fathers in peace. Okay? Here the ancestors of Abraham are viewed as being in a definite place to which Abraham will go. The ancestors of Avram are viewed as being in a definite place where Abraham will go. And that place is Sheol. S-H-E-O-L. The netherworld. And Sheol, S-H-E-O-L, this is a kind of phraseology always emphasizing the afterlife. Always emphasizing the afterlife and reflects faith in the afterlife. It shows that they had faith in the afterlife. Notice here when he says, you shall go to your fathers in peace, it's not the body. It cannot be the body. The go to your father in peace are the immaterial part of Abraham. Soul, mind, and spirit. Immaterial part of Abraham. That's the soul of Abraham, not to the interment of his body, because the father of Abraham were in Haran and the Ur of the Chaldean, and Abraham will not be buried in the Ur of the Chaldean. But it says you will go to your father in peace. It's not the body. It's the soul of Abraham going down to Sheol, into the righteous part of Sheol. Because the Old Testament saints upon death could not go to heaven. Not before the life of Christ, not before the death of Christ rather, because the blood of bull and goats is not strong enough to make a person go to heaven. So they went to a place called Abraham's bosom, the righteous part of Sheol. Are we going to do the covenant one day? Sure. But I explained these expressions are priceless. You shall go to your fathers in peace. They will not transport the body of Abraham to the Ur of the Chaldeans. He was called out of that place. It shows the faith. Do you remember Jacob when he sent Benjamin to Egypt with Joseph, unknown at that time? They said, oh, he wants to see Benjamin, he wants to see the younger. What did Jacob say? It's in Genesis, we'll get there. If you don't bring my son Benjamin back, you will bring my gray hair down to Sheol. Where was he expecting to go? Heaven? Down to Sheol. Immaterial part. Yes. Where was I? Verse 15b. You will be buried at a good old age. Circle that. He will be buried in the land, in the cave of Machpelah, at the age of 175 years old. I have 110 years old to carry on and 65, so am I going to be buried at the old age of Abraham? I don't think so, and I don't hope so. Okay. Verse 16. Then in the fourth generation, circle fourth generation, they will return here. Here is the land of Canaan, because the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet complete. Circle the iniquity of the Amorite twice. In verse 16, this is the promise to return from the land of Egypt. Exodus again. Avram's descendants will return in the fourth generation. And the 4 generations here are found in Exodus chapter 6, verses 16 to 21. Be careful never to make a generation 20 years or 40 years. Sometimes it's 40, sometimes it's 20, sometimes it's 60, 80, depending on the context, And here in Genesis, it's 100 years. They call it a generation. I'm giving you the 4 generation right now. The first one in the book of Exodus, chapter 6, verse 16, Levi. Chapter 6, verse 16, always Exodus, Levi. Chapter 6, verse 18, Kohath, Kohath, Kohath. Chapter 6, verse 20, Exodus 6:20, Amram, Amram, mother. 6:20 again, Moses and Aaron, total 400 years. Once again, be careful when you use the word generation, because sometimes people make mistake. They always think 40. Lots of teachers, they say 40. No, it differs. It depends on the context. And basically the word generation often in scriptures does not necessarily speak of a lifespan. It speaks generation as meaning contemporaries. Contemporaries. It's not necessarily always a time span. 16b, the iniquity of the Amorite is not yet complete. I explain this right now. The cup of iniquity that I spoke before, like a cup of wine, it's the sin of the Amorite. You have a cup of wine like this, and the iniquity grows. This is sinful, and then it overflows. And then you change the cup for a new cup sometimes. But here, the cup of iniquity is not overflowing. The iniquity of the Amorite is described in Leviticus 18, the verses 24 to 30. Leviticus 18, verses 24 to 30. So basically here, until the iniquity of the Amorite has reached is not yet complete, it's a period of grace to see if they will turn from their sin. So he gives them a period of grace until the cup overflows. He might change their mind. They may change their mind. They might obey me, but they never do. So that's why basically he waits for the iniquity to be full. So when Joshua, of the book of Joshua, conquered the land, or made the conquest of the land, it was not only militaristic, military style. It was not only nationalistic, but it was also judicial. God gave a period of time. Wait Joshua, not the time now, not the time now, go, because they did not change their mind. So it's a period when we see the long-suffering attribute of God. He gave them until the iniquity of the Amorite is full, is complete. It's a period of grace for them to turn from idolatry, the sinful stuff like in the time of Sodom and Gomorrah, and so on. What a God we serve. But when he decides that this is enough, that the people have reached a point of no return, there is nothing else to do. And in the time of Joshua, they needed to kill them because they have reached a point of no return. Okay? Same for the church. Once the cup of iniquity of the church will reach its fullness, then the rapture will occur. Then the rapture will occur. Verse 17, we have the actual signing and the sealing of the covenant. Beloved, it's 5 to 9, not exactly, it's 7:53 my time. In BC, I think it's what time? It doesn't matter, 5:53 or 4:53, whatnot. Give me 10 minutes additional. I want to finish something, okay? Don't worry, Jeanette, you wanted to give me the time? Don't bother, okay? For me, it's I take an additional 10. I just want to finish something here. How was the speed, Vicky? Have I been overwhelming? 0? Too fast? No, good? Okay, good. I prefer that sign. Good stuff. Patricia, are you okay also? Because I make eye contact with you. Good stuff. Ray, not Ray. Linda? No, Linda. It's because you are on the computer of Linda. You don't look like a Linda. So it's Ray. Are you okay, Ray? Good. Good stuff. I'm not going to ask you, all of you. We are a smaller group tonight. Where's the people? Verse 17, we have the actual signing.
Dan, I got a question.
Who has a question? Jeanette.
I just need the Leviticus reference for the.
Leviticus chapter 18, verses 24 to 30.
Thank you.
You're most welcome. Come with me in verse 17. Now I'm going to read until, let me see, I'm going to take you to 17 only for now. Came about when the sun had set that it was very dark, and behold, you circle carefully the behold, there appear a smoking oven and a flaming torch, which pass between these pieces, plural. So that's here that we have finally reached the signing and the sealing by means of the Shekinah glory. By means of the Shekinah glory. Look again. Come with me again. And then I will make comments. You will not see me. You will see only what I share right now. It should change for you quite soon. What you see here, the flame and the smoking oven, is the visible manifestation of God's presence. This is the exact same thing that Moses saw in the bush, in the burning bush on Mount Sinai, and the bush was not consumed. This is the exact same thing. The flame is the Shekinah glory, and that flame makes the pot, basically, on which I will come back, burning hot. And the torch that you see went onto the animals and consumed the Holocaust. It burns the animals dead. And that's the sealing here and the signing of the Abrahamic covenant. This is it. What went before, in between the piece, we don't see the pieces being burnt right now. It's the visible manifestation of God's presence. This is what we see in the book of Exodus, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. What was this? It was the visible manifestation of God's presence. The sun was going down in chapter 15, verse 12. But it was still visible. Now it's pitch black. So you can look at the stars behind the mountain of the picture right now. It's pitch black, and I like the scene, the flatness of the scene and the sand around it type of thing. Okay? Now the state was not merely dust, but it was pitch black. And then came the appearance of what we call, give me a second, you make a note, because I will mention that very often. It's called the Shekinah. The Shekinah glory. It's not an epiphany. The Jews don't talk about an epiphany. The Jews, they understand it as the Shekinah or Shekinah because you can write it two ways. It is the visible, I'm going to give you a definition of it right now. It is the visible manifestation of God's presence. Usually it appears as light, like in the burning bush. It was not a real fire, it was the consuming presence of God. And the voice came from the presence of God. Sometimes fire, like we have right now. Cloud, thick darkness, or some mixtures of it all. On Mount Sinai, the cloud came on the mountain and it thundered